Hello, I am Michael, a TME for Intersight. In this video, I will show you how you can configure the Splunk add-on for Intersight. We're going to cover a lot of information in this video, but there is also a written user guide. So if there's anything that you want to read up on, you can always check out the user guide to get the details on anything we discuss in this video. Now, if you want to install the add-on, you can just go to Splunk Base, where you find the add-on as well as all of the details, installation guide, troubleshooting and so on, and you can download the add-on from there. If you're going to use this in conjunction with a CVA or PVA, there are a few additional changes that you have to take care of, documented here. When it comes to installing the add-on, you can just install it using the built-in App Store. Look for the Splunk add-on for Intersight, and then just log in and download it and install from there. Either way, you're going to end up with an installed Intersight add-on. So when you actually go to your Splunk dashboard, you can search for Intersight and you will find the add-on right there. If you open it up for the first time, you will be greeted with the account configuration. Now to actually configure the account, let's jump over to Intersight and we're going to set up some things there. So first we're going to create a role for the Splunk export. The role determines the permissions that a user has. So for Splunk, we're going to need the read-only and the audit viewer role. So that will actually limit our connectivity to Splunk to only read data, and it will prevent the Splunk add-on or anyone getting that API key from creating anything. Now we're going to assign that role to a user. So we could add a new user, like for example Splunk user. We add the Splunk user role to our new account. Or what we can also do is we can take an existing user, we can edit their permissions, and we can add a second role. So in this case, we're going to add the Splunk user role to my account as well. Either way, we're going to end up with an Intersight account that also has the Splunk user role. Then we just log out and log back in with that new Splunk user role. Now that we are logged in with those reduced permissions, we can go to settings and OAuth2 tokens to create a new OAuth2 token for Splunk. Now we need to provide a name and a description, and we can also provide an expiration time. There is a way to disable expiration time for your account globally, but it is a good security best practice to set this expiration time. Okay? With that created, we can copy the client ID and client secret because we're going to need it when we go back to Splunk. So in Splunk, we're going to add a new account. We're going to provide the name and then just copy the client ID and client secret. I would also recommend to check create default inputs because that's going to set up all the plumbing required to actually import data from Intersight. There are a few advanced settings like proxy if you're in a proxied environment, logging to determine what level of logs will be written about the add-on, and finally KV lookup rest, which is only really needed if you change the Splunk management port or if you're working in a distributed Splunk environment. Now, with that done, we can actually switch over and look at the inputs. As you can see, they have been pre-created because we selected to create the default inputs. But there are a few more things that we have to take care of before we actually make use of them. So first we're going to go to settings and indexes, where we're going to create a new index for our Intersight data. We can set a size limit there in terms of gigabytes, and we can also set the amount of days that the data should stay searchable for. With the index created, we can now jump back to the inputs, where we're going to update the index for all of our inputs. There's also other settings we can do there. For example, we can determine for alarms, hey, when should the data actually start being collected? Because we're going to have some old alarms. We can change the collection interval. And then same thing again for audit logs. Update the index. You can start a data collection in the past to get more audit logs pulled in right away. And then we go over to metrics input. So these are actually time series data exported from Intersight. So we're going to update the index there as well. Next up, we have an inventory input. So we're going to update the index there. Of course, you could change which inventory objects are being pulled into, By default, it's just all of them, but you could reduce it down in scope if you wanted to. Then we have some more inventory, this time for ports and interfaces, so we're going to update that as well. And finally, we have some more network metrics, so we're going to update the index there. And of course, even for metrics, you could determine which metrics should be pulled into Splunk if you don't want all the metrics to be pulled in. Okay? We've set up all the inputs now, so we can just activate all of them now, which will actually start the data collection. While this is starting to ingest, we can work on some of the other settings. So first we go to Settings, Data Models. We select the one for Intersight. We'll click on Add to enable acceleration. Then we're going to choose a summary range. This setting determines how many days of recent data will be accelerated for faster dashboard loads. So you can base it off of what you usually look at in dashboards. The longer the time range, the more additional data Splunk will have to store for this acceleration. Next up, we're going to jump back to the main screen, and now we're going to go to Settings, Advanced Search. We have two search macros to configure. First of all, we're going to go to the Cisco Intersight Index, where we're going to put in the index that we created. If you created more than one, you can provide all of them here in a list, but we only created one, so we're only going to provide that one index. Second, we're going to configure summaries only. With acceleration enabled, this should be set to true. Okay? Now we've set up a lot of configuration and we can actually look over some of the things in our add-on. Let's jump to the Intersight Insights dashboard. This dashboard shows you some information about your account, such as the server profiles, unused server slots. It shows you alarms on your servers. There are various metrics, including CPU utilization and network errors. And then all of the information in this dashboard can be filtered. So for example, you can filter down the account name, or for the profiles, you can filter to only profiles that are assigned. And you can do something similar for unused server slots as well. So for example, you can filter down to one specific domain and only show the unused server slots in that specific domain. If you want to deep dive on the network troubleshooting aspect, just head over to the network troubleshooting dashboard. Here, we are starting out on the domain level dashboard. So this first widget, for example, shows you the utilization of your uplinks, and we can then click on a domain to get the details of the transmit and the receive utilization of our domains. So if you scroll down, you can actually see the links and the utilization over time. Further down, you will find the same information for Fiber Channel. Now this domain doesn't have Fiber Channel, so that it's empty. Then there's a table with the utilization per port, so you can actually look at all of your ports in order. Then there are two widgets showing the transmit and the receive pause frames. And again, if you click on the text here, you can actually bring up a detailed view showing the pause frames over time. So many widgets have this capability where you can drill down and get a more detailed graph. If you had any port errors, you would have seen them in this final widget. Now, one other thing you can do is you can apply filters to your dashboard. So for example, you can filter down to a specific domain, then all of your widgets will adjust to only be about that one domain. If instead you want to troubleshoot a specific chassis, you can head over to the chassis dashboard instead. This will have all of the chassis that Splunk has ingested. This dashboard will work just like the previous one. So for example, you can also apply filters to a certain domain or to a certain chassis. Now, you have similar widgets here. First, you have the utilization per port, but this time you have chassis ports. Then you have the utilization per server. Then followed by that, you have all of your IFM uplink ports and then all of your IFM downlink ports. Again, if you click on a port, it will open up the detail view showing you the utilization of that port over time. Now below that, you will have your pause frames, both for transmit and receive. And at the very bottom, you will find your error counters. Like for other widgets before, this one is empty because there are no errors. Finally, we can jump to the server dashboard. This compiles all the network information about all the servers that Splunk has ingested data for. Like with the previous dashboards, you will be able to filter for all the servers in the domain, all the servers in a chassis, or just based on the server profile. So the widgets will show information such as the utilization per server for transmit and receive, Again, you can click on one of these servers to get the details about the specific server. Below that, you will have a table listing the utilization per server based on the total utilization for transmit, and then right below for receive. So this is the Ethernet traffic, and then below those tables for the Ethernet traffic, you have the same for Fiber Channel. And then below that, the error counters. There is no data for any of them, so all of them are empty. So these dashboards are great for network troubleshooting. Now, we've also consolidated several reports that help you get started with the Splunk add-on. So for example, we've created a report about the HCL status of your environment, showing all of your devices plus their HCL status. Hopefully, this will help you get started and provide a good foundation with the add-on. But of course, you're using Splunk, so you can still write queries against your entire database. So if you're just doing index equals star, that's all the data in your account. If you limit it to the intersite index, that's going to be all the data in that index. You can actually also replace it with this macro, so you don't have to type the index names. And then you can apply some additional filters. So for example, the source type. So in this case, we're going to filter only audit logs. And then you can, for example, apply a transformation which will transform the IP into a location. Okay, great so far. And then we can actually create stats based on that. So we're actually going to count by city, which in the case of Splunk will actually bring up this awesome map showing where our users are logging in from. And with that, I hope you have a lot of fun playing around with the Splunk add-on yourself.